Hello everybody, this is me, the Sea Circuit here. In my previous video, I stated that I was going to do a tour of my base and my builds on Midgard, and well, this is the video I'm going to be doing that in. And if you've watched the previous video and also a few other videos of mine, at least the ones I've done on Midgard, you'll probably recognize this this room here. This is my portal room, and the more long-term audience of my channel probably recognize that this is a bit similar to a previous portal room of mine that I've had on the previous community. But as from the transition to this community, we've gotten the larger portal rooms, and I've made the decision to basically take my existing design and make it larger in order to fit in the new portal room dimensions. And at least as of recording, the limit for how many portal rooms every player can have is set to 20 portals, and I have been able to fit all 20 of my portals on the same level. But I have no clue if this will happen, but if at any point in the future the limit is rate increased, I actually have space in my portal room to accommodate that. Well, this is where my shop used to be before the mall opened, but as you can see, I still have this entire area which I haven't made use of. Originally, my plan was to put a storage system up here that uses shulker boxes, but the farm team wouldn't let me do that. So this area just ended up not being used apart from my shop, which now currently is not in use because I have a mall shop now. But anyway, it's basically the same sort of concept where I have this floor that's just full of all kinds of redstone stuff. And basically, whenever you step on the pressure plate, it starts activating. Not all at once. I've actually added some delay to this so that not all of it goes at once. And as you've heard, there's also firework dispensers that also are randomized. And you might have just been able to see it go off. Getting this through the farm team wasn't easy, but I am quite happy I did it. It really completes the portal room, the floor, and it really accomplishes the goal of making a portal room that represents me as a player, which I'm really quite proud of. And this is just more of just a temporary storage unit that I'd used before my base got pasted in, which, of course, if you don't know, during the transition from the old community to the new community, Blue had, or just Blue 333 had offered to any player that wants to do it to transfer their builds from the old community to the new community, and I opted for this for two reasons. One being just sentimental value of all my builds, and the second reason being I just didn't want to go through having all my farms resubmitted and reapproved. I've anyway used that as an opportunity to make improvements to the farms, and all of the farms made the move, thankfully. So, without further ado, let's move on to the base, which truly is unchanged from how it was on the old community, apart from the layout. And down here I have a cactus farm that previously wasn't here, as at least for a while there might be a community cactus farm now, but for a while there wasn't a community cactus farm. So of course that was a farm that actually did not require approval due to being under the guidelines. And over here is just kind of an area I built because why not? And it doesn't really serve much of a functional purpose apart from being my death counter, my how many days it's been since my last death, which basically I have to update daily, which if I'm not, let's just say if I'm not active on Midgard, I don't get to update it that much. But this counter is basically my deaths, which if basically if you hold tab, you can, of course that menu is death counts in ping. And of course every time I die I have to update it, and of course at the beginning of the hallway I had buttons that do the same function as these buttons, only I don't have, rather than having to go into here to update it, I can just do it from the entrance of that tunnel. And the other purpose of this room is just kind of also as a kind of a calm room for me, but it's just basically, well, if I want to look at that the disco lighting I have in the ceiling, I can do that, or if I want this to if I want to look at this, I can do that too. Though as you can see, it does tank on my frame rate quite a bit. Well, it's mostly it's mostly this that causes the lag. If I turn that off, my frame rate actually is still fairly decent. With this off, it can fully recover. But also, as you can see, I've incorporated some note block randomizers into this as well. And these counters actually, they're not my design, but they're a design that I actually really liked because they're fairly compact, and they actually are the reason they're able to be this small is they make use of comparator logic, which is for most redstone, it operates either just on or off, and whenever computational redstone is built in Minecraft, or like things to display numbers on what's actually called a 7-segment display, it's usually done in binary or using piston feed tape memory, where this actually makes use of makes use of comparators in the counting logic and also some of the decoding logic for the 7-segment display as well. Which really sets it apart from many other redstone counters out there. And it can also count up, or it can also count down in addition to counting up. And also, it has the ability to be reset, just all digits reset to 0 at the press of a button. And now we're on to the lobby. And just recently I've put soul sand in the floor for this tunnel going from the portal room to the lobby, and also put in carpeting. Which is not only decorative, but also serves the purpose of preventing slimes from spawning. And also I've made as you can see, I've made changes to the floor in my lobby. It's because I have made the decision to put the soul soil in all the floors in my base to enable the soul speed effect, which is kind of like another free speed boost in addition to speed 2 on my beacons. Which is really nice to have, of course, given the size of my base. And it's not quite as fast as Elytra with rockets, but it is faster than speed 2 alone. Another feature of this area is a beacon color selector, which is really quite fancy and complex for what it does, but I am quite proud of what I was able to accomplish. This is just the interface, and basically I just have each of these buttons are the different patterns that you can choose from, and these signs are what buttons are for what selection, and the lamps indicate which is currently selected by saying the bottom row and the farthest over in this direction. Like this button is the one that's selected right now. But I can actually change that. And if we're fast enough, we could probably catch the beacon changing over. Boy, we weren't. Kind of missed that, but maybe if we select that again, we can catch it. And this uses feed tape to, or is basically block storage for all the different patterns. And if you see the composters that are going around with the feed tape, that's also how I was able to add some smarts to the system so that it knows exactly when to stop in order to give the pattern that was selected. And what's really cool about this build is not only is it mostly my design this time, like I designed this in creative mode before I submitted it to farm team, but this is also making use of comparator logic, and that's a first for a build that I actually have designed. And this button panel I actually borrowed from one of Ilmango's combination locks, but the rest of this is all designed by me, and which I actually am quite happy I can actually say that and be proud of it for once. Is most of my builds actually, like, I mean, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for having to have my builds approved by a farm team, I actually would be, like, most of my builds, even to this day, I would be borrowing from other redstone YouTubers. But having to have my builds approved by the farm team has kind of incentivized me to design my own, more of my own redstone. Of course, so rather than just take like a deluxe farm that somebody's already designed that has basically all kinds of features already added to it, I've been incentivized by the farm team to come up with farms that meet my needs while not being too, while also not being needlessly complicated, and as a result of that, less of a load on the server. So the gist of how this works is when you input basically when you make a selection, part of this circuit is a analog memory cell that stores basically any value from 0 to 15. And another part of this redstone is making the displays work. Because when you make a selection, this memory cell clears and then gets refreshed with the new value. And then that value goes down this wire, but it also goes down here. And I just have some logic, some comparator logic to make so it's basically this is a red coder that these lamps are connected to. And whenever this goes past a certain value, I have to subtract, I basically have to cut the signal in half. So even though it's double what this can display, it's still only displaying half of what the signal actually is. And then also when that happens, this lamp has to, instead of this being on, this top one has to be on. And really most of this redstone here is moving the piston feed tape, and of course a redstone clock is required for that, and also a couple of monostable circuits, which basically whenever this pulses, we get one pulse after another pulse, which advances the feed tape by one step. And due to the way I'm actually doing these composter, this memory with composters, I've had to come up with some more complicated logic with comparators and also some just normal logic with redstone in order to take this signal and then generate two different signals, which then go into this this circuit here, which is actually, instead of just a bog standard comparator, it's actually has two different thresholds. So only if the selected value is reached, this will give an output, and then that will retract this redstone block, and whenever a selection is made, that gets spit out here, and then that will keep the clock running until the desired pattern is selected, and then that just shuts the whole system down. I'm not really the best at explaining explaining redstone, but hopefully, hopefully that was reasonably easy to understand. But or if you got lost, I'm sorry. But anyway, we can move on to the next area of the space, which is the Guardian Farm. And when I had this build copied over, I opted to have the builds spaced farther apart than they were, just to kind of give peace of mind that all of my many farms and redstone gadgets in my base, like no more than one of them are loaded at the same time. And this is the storage room, or this is the storage system, which has undergone a few changes since it was built on the previous community. And this is the killing area of the Guardian Farm. And it does share a few things in common with the community Guardian Farm, but that was only because the community Guardian Farm didn't exist before I built my Guardian Farm. And when the community Guardian Farm was built, the farm team took inspiration from my Guardian Farm, as it really was the only Guardian Farm on the server that was reliable and actually would meet the requirements for a community farm. And this has two different modes of operation. XP mode, which is what you'd use if you're collecting XP, or also if you want to just farm the mob drops with the perk of looting 3. Or if you just wanna AFK for like prismarine or prismarine crystals, the AFK mode lets you just sit in this AFK pool and the farm will do the rest. And the redstone for this is pretty straightforward. It's just a timer that every so often will open the floor, allowing the guardians and the items to fall onto that killing pad. And then when the guardians die, and of course you've been witnessing it right now. And so those guardians have died. And then after a certain amount of time, this hopper timer will switch back over, and then then these trapdoors will open, allowing water to flush the items into the collection stream, which you just saw right now. And this is for an anvil station that I've built. And basically how that works is, say if this anvil breaks, I can press this button and it gets replaced with a new anvil, but fortunately that seems to not work anymore for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, looks like that's broken, unfortunately, but what's supposed to happen is an anvil will appear here, on this block here, when that button is pressed. But it looks like I'm gonna have to either fix that thing or replace it with a different design if that design just doesn't work anymore, but I'm hoping it's the former. And this is an enchanting station where you can just press this button and you get through 3 lapis dispense, and you can make an enchantment. And this is for restocking it. And the storage system is unchanged, apart from the addition of the shulker box display units. So basically, the first shulker box that goes in will go into these things, allowing you to, like, say if I only want to take out a stack of prismarine crystals, I can do that. Or if there's shulkers in here, I can take those out as well. And I believe I could also take a shulker out of these if I want to. And it gets replaced with a new shulker box. So, now let's go on to the next part of the space. And another thing I've done is I've finally, like, these tunnels for quite a long time were unfinished, but I finally finished them and added the ice boats highways. But these actually are a bit of a twofer. I also have soul soil under all along here. So you can either run along the side or ride the ice boat. This is kind of a, not that I actually need to lock my items away, but this is a, really just for the sake of it, this is a secure vault for some of my items. And really I just keep mob heads and I just keep my really valuable items, mob heads, and my shulkers that I get from the skate events in this vault. And it's basically you have to press the buttons in a specific order in order for it to open. So, and for the purposes that I don't want to just have the actual button code be on my video, we are going to skip to when this is opened. And then as you can see, this staircase opened up, and there's really not much to it. It's just these barrels where I'm actually storing my valuable items in. And this is just an access to where the redstone area. And this is a fairly old design, but I've used it because, at least at the time I built this, I didn't really know how other designs worked, but I do have a design in mind that makes use of comparator logic that in order for I plan, at least my plan is to submit when I build my I do have plans in the works for an actual head display room, which I plan to use that design for. But this will remain my valuable item vault, even after that is built. And this area used to be my storage and auto-smelting area, but I have since moved those builds to their own respective areas in order to cut down on the amount of redstone that I have in one area. And this area at one point had over 1,000 hoppers in it, but now I'm proud to say that it's well under the limit of 75 hoppers, or not limit, or guideline rather. And this used to have a fairly large auto sorter in it, and that's why there's these areas that extend out from the center. But let's just say when I went to go use it, the TPS dropped by about 3, and while it wasn't enough for me to notice, it was enough for the admins to notice, and I had to basically tear down that sorter. And I was only using half of it, like I was only using this part of it. But needless to say that even with half of it running, that is not great. But this is where my smelter used to be, but it's no longer there. But I do have my main source of food here, and this is where I get my my golden carrots that I have as my main food source. And basically, I just stand here, and they get automatically grown. And this, as long as this has bone meal in it, I'll have unlimited food. And this is where the items get stored. And in this area, I used to have a concrete maker, though it actually uses TNT. It used TNT to work, but that since has been replaced by a concrete maker that I'm just about to show you. Which is this build here. And I'm making use of one of Ilmango's builds, which is a blast chamber that actually, for every 240 blocks that go into it, uses 1 TNT block. And while that's pretty crazy efficient, there have one I have seen one design that that was 600 blocks per TNT, but even so, this one is still pretty efficient. And despite having done probably several shulkers of concrete through this thing, or probably even close to 10 shulkers, in the total amount of time I've been using this farm, I have not had to replenish the TNT in this thing. There's about that dispenser is starting to run out of TNT, but it still has several stacks in it. And for how much concrete I use this thing to convert, that's actually not too shabby. But unfortunately, the shulker box loader doesn't quite work the way I would like it to work. I mean, like, it does do what it's supposed to do, but in longer sessions, I have noticed this chest would fill up needlessly with shulkers that only have under a stack of items in them. So soon I'm going to have to submit a fix to this one, which is a little bit annoying considering that's just not the first fix I've submitted for this farm, but I already have the submission of my autosmelter, or a redesign of my autosmelter in the works, so I may just hold off on this until 1.18 drops or comes to Midgard. And I have tested this farm in 1.18, so I can say that this still works in 1.18. And the reason this cobblestone generator is here is, say if you only do a partial run of this farm, and you only do 100 blocks of concrete, the blast chamber will not trigger until it goes through a whole cycle. So in order to force it to complete that cycle, I've included this cobblestone generator, and it has a timer that allows it to run until basically the entire blast chamber is cleared of concrete. And I've also included a sorter, which basically filters out concrete from cobblestone, and the cobblestone at the moment just goes into lava, but possibly in the future I could add a storage for cobblestone and possibly use that as a cobblestone farm as well. But for the moment, it at least satisfies what I mostly need it for as a concrete maker. And while this seems like a rather roundabout way to make concrete, like you could just use the trick where you have concrete in one hand and your tool in your other hand, and you can hold both mouse buttons, and that actually it is a mostly reliable way of making concrete, but I have found that sometimes basically it doesn't work. Like for longer sessions, it isn't entirely reliable. So that's why I've kind of went for this solution, and it at least proves that at least this design of blast chamber is reliable on Midgard and could be used in future farms that I build. So if I ever wanted it, if I ever wanted my own automated tree farm, I could use it for that. Next, we're on to the storage room. And this has been the subject of a few different submissions of mine. And it is my main storage system. And it is auto sorting. And so basically you just put your items in this chest and they all get sorted into these chests that are in the wall. And any items that don't go into those chests go into the miscellaneous section down here. And down here is just additional storage for, mostly intended for like bulk items that I have. Like say if I have loads, like several, like if I have 20 shulkers of cobblestone, this is where that would go. And these aren't really automated in any way. They're just lamps, they're just chests with lamps connected to them. And at least when I'm working with shulker boxes, those, it's not too big of a deal because I can just shift click the item in and out of these chests. And really just for in the interest of keeping the, really just allowing this to pass the farm team more easily by keeping the redstone, by not making it needlessly complicated. That's just a kind of a trade-off that I was willing to accept. And I used to have that system in here, but I opted to move it out to here in order to get more, like initially this used to only be 8 modules, but I was able to approve and upgraded this to 12 modules. But, although this is just kind of a big unsolvable issue of mine, and it's really kind of a me problem, but it's that I desire some way, I have always desired some way to have automated sorting, and it's, well, and it just so happens that that auto sorting, that storage tech happens to be one of the most redstone intensive builds, and then it also so happens to be one of the biggest causes of lag for multiplayer servers. And it's always meant that if I'm going to have auto sorting, I have to be willing to accept some compromises. Like, it can't be every single item, and Like I have to choose, well, what items do I want to auto sort? What items am I okay with just manually sorting? And even this design is still a bit compromising because of I am mostly limited to the capacity that these chests can hold. And if I need to store more items, I would have to do it in shulker boxes, as I've done here. But that also means that those items can't be auto-sorted, and it does eat up slots that I otherwise could use for auto-sorting. And that's really where this system comes in over here. But it's just been a big unsolvable issue of mine. And one solution is, well, if this storage room ever is not big enough for me, I had approval from the farm team to build 2 additional storage rooms of this exact type. Like I've been approved to build 2 additional copies of this storage room as long as they're far enough apart that that I'm not loading more than one of them at the same time. But I didn't end up building that. But if it ever comes in the future where I need to build them, I'll just let the farm team know I'm going to build them, and if that needs to be reapproved, I'll go through that. But my hope is, since it was previously approved, I don't have to go through reapproval, just because I didn't build it for several months after it was approved. But I've also kind of have in the works another storage system that uses Etho's shulker search engine, but also kind of gets around the drawback of longer searches taking over several minutes by having an item categorization system. But I'm yet to I'm just really kind of the thing is, I'm just really it's just the submission process of getting farms approved has just, unfortunately, it's become a deterrent for me to want to build new farms. Just because, well, unless I want to build under the guidelines, it has to go through the whole approval process, and even then, it may or may not pass. And even this has happened before, where even though builds of mine have passed, the team has just unanimously voted against them. And this isn't really common, but it just happens when there's just skepticism. Like, say if there's been several tests run and 2 tests fail and 1 test passes. And it sucks, but it just kind of, it is what it is. And it's out of my hands, and whenever I'm building on Midgard, I'm largely at their mercy. And I'm just doing whatever it is in my power to continue my playstyle as I want to, but sometimes I just have to sometimes I have to just follow the rules, unfortunately. But anyway, this is my smelter, and this is really the result of several iterations of a design that I designed myself. This is another build that I designed myself, which I'm quite proud of. And for the most part, it meets my needs, but the only thing it lacks, and it's the reason why I'm replacing it, is that it lacks the shulker box input and output. And that's one of the things that that I'm changing with the new design that has been submitted, and if it passes, we'll replace this design. And I did make a compromise, and this smelter has 40 furnaces, but the one that's replacing it has 27 furnaces. But that is a compromise that I decided that was worth making for acquiring the shulker box IO, which will allow me to because for this smelter is limited to I can only input 2 double chests of items at a time. Where the new design I can input up to a full chest of shulker boxes full of items at a time, which is a pretty significant delta. And for the most part, I'm not smelting more than a few shulkers of items at a time, and so I'm willing to accept the trade-off of my smelter being a bit slower in order to gain that feature to it. And this over here is actually a tree farm that I have implemented, making use of the tree plugin, where if you cut down a tree with an axe, the entire tree gets destroyed, and that allowed me to easily mass produce fuel for the smelter. But unfortunately, that plugin no longer works and has been removed from Midgard. And while there are plans to re-add that plugin back as soon as a tree plugin exists that can be used, I've actually decided to make the decision to change my smelter to using lava instead of charcoal. Mainly because I like to make use of mechanics that I like to make use of the vanilla game mechanics. I don't like to make use of a plugin that adds something that otherwise would not be in survival. And the very first renewable fuel source that was added was dried kelp blocks, and that has drawbacks that it's rather complicated to implement. Well, being that it requires the player to manually craft the dried kelp to dried kelp blocks. And And then in the next update, we got bamboo, which is also a renewable fuel source, but it comes with the drawback of it's the shortest lasting fuel in the game. But as of 1.17, we can now, lava is now farmable using the dripstone. And as far as I'm concerned, that finally allows me to have my cake and eat it too. So I've thus that's what brings me to this farm. And it's basically how it works is you just stand over this in this area, and then you have to start it moving with that button. Oh, I also have to flip the lever to start it, and then now it's running. And I actually, in order for this to work, I have to completely fill my inventory. And whenever I get lava going past, I think I actually have to stand a bit farther back. Whenever we get a lava-filled cauldron passing by, we get a lava bucket automatically. But it does require the player to be AFK, holding down the right mouse button. But by golly, I finally have a renewable fuel source that actually without any compromises, which is really nice. And this is just a shulker box loader, which I have included to store the lava that is produced. And this over here is actually an obsidian farm. Because lava buckets are renewable, obsidian is now renewable. Which, you have no idea how important this is to me, because we used to have renewable obsidian in the form of a bug, where that involved using redstone or string, and if you place it in between lava and water, it makes obsidian. But unfortunately that got removed. But at least now we finally have a method of farming obsidian that at least that in Mojang's eyes is not overpowered. And then all the obsidian just goes into this chest. And here we just have basically the same shulker boxes that this farm produces. I actually can put into this chest. And then those that feeds the obsidian farm. And then down here, I just have, these farms used to have a portal going to them, but I've decided to change some of my portals around, and I felt that a dedicated portal for this farm wasn't necessary. But anyway, this here is a stone farm, or a stone generator. Or basically I can stand here and AFK mine stone. And this over here is a basalt generator. And I actually have a bit of a project in the works that will actually use these farms, but just because of the sheer scale of it, I've just been putting it off. But if you're wondering, it's a giant map art sign for my shop. But I've mostly been waiting for the community shulker farm to be ready, but now that it's ready, I actually can start on that project. But you have no idea how important having shulker farms in survival Minecraft is to me, because we can finally have because when shulkers were added, they were kind of a revolution for storage systems, as we're finally able to, as they allow you to have, you can have more denser storage while using fewer hoppers, which means the world to a technical player like me on a server that actually cares about the impact of these redstone builds have on servers. And it allows me to do more within the limits that we set in place by the farm team, but also more or less just baked into the game as well. I have been recording for over an hour now, but so I'm deciding to end it off here, and in the next video we're going to, well, so as that was my base, the next video is going to be about my farms that are not connected to my base, that are only connected to my portal room. And thank you for watching this video. This has been me, Dusty Circuit here. And thank you for watching. This has been me, Dusty Circuit here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of my latest content. Peace out.